Question is, what ignorance is? Ignorance. So that is not knowing Four Noble Truths. So under that, not knowing truth of suffering. And under this, we discuss all these things. Not knowing five aggregates is suffering. Ignorance. Not knowing five aggregate is ignorance, and five aggregate is the truth of suffering also. And not knowing form aggregate, feeling aggregate, first perception aggregate, and consciousness aggregate is ignorance. And under that, not knowing consciousness aggregate, under that we have discussed 81 consciousness and plus 8. This 8 is very special. Although we count under consciousness aggregate, it is not really truth of suffering. This is a bit subtle area. Now these supramundane 8 consciousness, we can discuss on the consciousness aggregate, but it is a path leading to the cessation of suffering. Although they are consciousness and we can count on the consciousness aggregate, they are not under truth of suffering. And if I say more subtle level, in this 8 supramundane consciousness, 4 are wholesome, 4 are resultant. Let's say fruits, not the perfect word is fruits. And under these 4 consciousness, we know what are these 4. Stream entry, path knowledge, path, stream entry path, once returner path, non-returner path, and arahant path. So these paths have altogether about 36 mental factors. So stream entry path, that consciousness has 36 mental factors. And out of these 36 mental factors, you find right view, thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and one-pointedness. That is right concentration. So only these 8 factors, 8 mental factors, considered as the truth of path leading to the suffering. Other mental factors are called Satcha Vinirmukta. I don't know the exact English word. Satcha Vinirmukta, not belong to truth, 4 Noble Truths. Not belong to 4 Noble Truths. Yes. So now it's clear, I think. Now there are 8 supramundane consciousness. It's clear, no? 8 supramundane consciousness. We can divide into 2, fruition 4 and path 4. So under this path, each path, stream entry, once returner, non-returner, and arahanthood, each path has 36 mental factors. Sometimes it differs, but roughly you can note 36 mental factors. And among these 36 mental factors, 8 factors really function as the path. They are right view. Right view means wisdom, mental concomitant. Right thought is applied mental concomitant, mental factor. Right speech is right speech, right action and right livelihood. There are 3 abstiners. And right effort is effort mental factor, energy mental factor. Right mindfulness is mindfulness mental factor. And right concentration is one-pointedness mental factor. These 8 are functioning as path. Other mental factors in those supramundane consciousness not count as any truth. Not truth of suffering, not path, not cause, not cessation. So they are called Satya Vinirmukta. And again, these 4 fruits also called Satya Vinirmukta. These fruits also can't consider as truth of suffering or cause of suffering or cessation of suffering and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. So this is a bit subtle area. Don't hurry to understand all these things. You just know this kind of things are there. So yesterday we discussed supramundane 8 consciousness. Now we have to look at what are the mental factors available in those consciousness. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. So first one is stream entry. This is the first supramundane consciousness. It has 7 universals. 7 universal mental factors. Universals means those mental factors available in all the consciousness. And it has 6 occasion. And it has 19 wholesome, beautiful, 19 beautiful universals. And it has 3 abstinence. Right speech, right action and right livelihood. And it has wisdom. And it doesn't have 2 of the beautiful factors. They are compassion and sympathetic joy. So 20, 23, 29, 36. 36 mental factors are there in stream entry, supramundane, stream entry, path, consciousness, which is wholesome. And I ask this question, why compassion and sympathetic joy not available in stream entry, path, consciousness? I have answered this question in previous occasions. wait, let's see how others' ideas. Why compassion and sympathetic joy not available in not only Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahant. All these path minds, these 2 mental factors not available. I have explained this fact before.
They are not part of Satipatthana, they are not part of Vipassana, those are Samatha meditation.
This is kind of
and
good answer.
Before even Buddha came.
No, it is not a good answer, but other one is kind of good answer, not available in Vipassana, we can say.
But metta and upekkha are...
Karuna, metta and karuna, not upekkha.
No.
Karuna
and mudita, yes.
But I'm saying metta and upekkha, or the other 2 elite Brahma Viharas are actually part of it, aren't they?
No, not Brahma Vihara's part of it. Those mental factors are there. Now, metta is the non-aversion. That mental factor is there under these 19. Upekkha is we call tatta majjattata. It is also within here, but sympathetic joy and karuna not available in the supramundane path. Okay, now Vinithandru can say.
Because according to the normal definition, they need a person, and this consciousness is object of the part consciousness is nirvana.
Yes.
So that's why the metta, even though it seems like metta, but here it's called adosa, non-hatred. So non-hatred does not need a person.
Yes, right. Adosan, even equanimity, non-equanimity, non.
We don't understand.
No, because
Oh.
normally they are
What does it mean,
defined,
doesn't need a
loving
person?
kindness and compassion and altruistic joy is directed at specific individuals. And this consciousness is the mind, the object of that consciousness is nirvana. So,
Yes, okay, we can simply say this way. This kindness and sympathetic joy, object persons. The objects are persons, beings, individuals. But the supramundane path's object is Nibbana, not beings, not individuals. So, because of that reason, sympathetic joy and kindness not available in the supramundane path. But metta and upekka, there is those things in a different form.
Yeah, non-aversion.
Non-aversion and yes, that's the thing. So it's a only abhidhammic Abhidhamma learners can deal with these questions. Only Sutta learners, Sutta only people can't deal with these questions. Yes?
you know, I just easy way to think about that is karma. You feel sorry for somebody.
Yes.
So like you say, can you feel sorry for nirvana?
Yes, you can't. Yes. You need always somebody to sorry. Here nobody is there. Nibbana. Yes. So again, it's good to remember these mental factors. 7 universals and 6 occasionals, 19 beautiful universals, wholesome, 3 abstinence and 1 wisdom. So almost all the supramundane path consciousness have same kind of same number of mental factors. And again, when you look at supramundane consciousness, you see that it is not that much different than mundane consciousness. Mundane wholesome consciousness. Now if you look at this consciousness, sense sphere, wholesome consciousness, first one, sense sphere, wholesome consciousness. Now the mental factors are 7, same as here, and 6, same as here, and 19, same. And this is the different. Now here you have all the 3 abstinence available in supramundane consciousness, but in this worldly wholesome consciousness, it has 1 of them. No worldly consciousness can contain all the 3 abstinence. Only supramundane consciousness can contain all the 3 abstinence. And again, this factor also there, wisdom factor also there. And out of compassion and sympathetic joy, 1 of them available there. Not all, not the 2, but 1 of them. So mundane wholesome consciousness and supramundane wholesome consciousness looks very same. So once you meditate, you develop wholesome consciousness, and when it comes to the climax, you reach to the supramundane wholesome consciousness. We develop wholesome consciousness in our day-to-day affairs as worldlings in order to reach one day supramundane consciousness. So if you think, okay, I don't need mundane consciousness, I don't do mundane wholesome deeds, I want only to attain stream entry, I develop only supramundane path, like that you can't practice, you can't go to Nibbana. First you have to develop mundane wholesome consciousness, and when you develop it to the climax, then you are very close to stream entry. So here stream entry means exactly eightfold path, and all the 8 things are working equally, balancedly, and in full strength in supramundane consciousness. But in mundane consciousness, something is working, other one is small, something is like this, something is like this, something like this, other one is big. That is the nature of mundane consciousness. Otherwise, all the 8 factors are there in mundane consciousness, but not working properly, not working harmoniously. But in supramundane consciousness, all the 8 factors are working harmoniously and perfectly. That's why they can take Nibbana as their object. And when Randhir Mahatya was not there, I explained very important thing. That is, although we consider all these supramundane 8 consciousness as consciousness aggregate, it doesn't belong to truth of suffering. This consciousness, although they are consciousness, they don't include into truth of suffering. They are path of suffering. Path leading to cessation of suffering.
So one of the four noble truths is not there?
Now our question is, what is ignorance? Okay. Now what is ignorance means not knowing truth of suffering, etc. So under truth of suffering, we came not knowing form aggregate, feeling aggregate, perception, mental formation, consciousness aggregate is ignorance. So under that, not knowing consciousness aggregate is ignorance. So under that we learn 89 consciousness under consciousness aggregate. Not knowing 89 consciousness, we can say ignorance. But this consciousness aggregate can be divided into 2, mundane part and supramundane part. So only mundane part we count under truth of suffering. This supramundane 8 consciousness we count under, not all actually, 4. 4 can count under path leading to the cessation of suffering. And in this path leading to cessation of suffering, there are at least 36 mental factors. And all these 36 mental factors not count under path leading to the cessation of suffering. In this 36, there are right view, right action, livelihood, etc. 8 mental factors. Only these 8 mental factors count under path leading to the cessation of suffering. Rest of the mental factors, now when we let's see, 28, these 28 mental factors out of 36 we subtract 8 mental factors, then we have 28 more. These 28 mental factors not belongs to truth of suffering, cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, and path leading to the cessation of suffering. It is called Satcha Vinirmukta. Satcha Vinirmukta means not included into 4 noble truths. And these 4 supramundane Prussian consciousness, again we count and are as Satya Vinirma. These four supramundane consciousness not belong to truth of suffering, not cause of suffering, not cessation, not path. So this is something peculiar to Abhidhamma. Yes, now we have almost finished consciousness aggregate. If one doesn't know what consciousness aggregate is, called ignorance. You have to learn all these things to eradicate your ignorance. Now we can move on to next truth. So not knowing truth, Four Noble Truths, and under that we discuss first one, truth of suffering, not knowing truth of suffering. Now let's move on to cause of suffering. Before that, let's read the little part I couldn't read this. Yes. Yesterday we discussed path consciousness of stream entry, and now let's read path consciousness of one's return. This chitta is the consciousness associated with Noble Eightfold Path that gives access to the plane of one's return, While it does not eradicate any fetters, this chitta attenuates the grosser forms of sensual desire and ill will. The person who has reached this stage will be reborn in this world at most one more time before attaining liberation. So this is the one's return. Next one, path consciousness of non-returning, another. One who attains the third path will never again be reborn in the sensuous plane. If such a person does not reach arahantship in this same lifetime, he will be reborn in the fine material world and there attain the goal. The path consciousness of non-returning cuts off the fetters of sensual desire and ill will. It also permanently eliminates the two chittas rooted in hate. Yes, okay, now chitta-wise, consciousness-wise, we know once one attains Sotapannahood, he cut off four greed-rooted consciousness accompanied with wrong view, and one delusion-rooted consciousness accompanied with doubt. Same. Now when he reached to non-returner, he cut another, or he eradicated another two consciousness rooted to aversion. Okay. Now, out of 12 unwholesome consciousness, non-returner has eradicated 8. Another 4 are available. It is clear?
Yes, but why 8? Because doubt is 1. 2 is,
no.
4 is great, doubt.
Now here,
And
aversion 2 and 4, 6.
7. You can say
Yes, 7. Yes. 5 and 2. Okay, correct. Thank you. So for from greed, 1 from delusion, 2 from aversion. So altogether 7 consciousness he completely eradicated. Another 5 are there to be eradicated. Altogether 12. Now the last one, path consciousness of Arahantship. An Arahant is a fully liberated person, one who has destroyed the enemy. Yes, this is the way that word form. Destroyed, hata, the enemy, Ari. Ari hata become Arahant. Destroyed enemy consisting of the defilements. The path consciousness of Arahantship is the chitta that issues directly in the full liberation of Arahantship. This chitta destroys the 5 subtle fetters: desire for fine material and immaterial existence, conceit, restlessness, and ignorance. It also eliminates the remaining types of unwholesome chittas, the 4 rooted in greed, disassociated from views, and the 1 rooted in the delusion associated with restlessness. It's clear, no? Yes. So, when one become Arahant, he destroyed all the unwholesome consciousness, 12 unwholesome consciousness. Now, there are 5 unwholesome consciousness available in non-returners. Even non-returners, they have 5 unwholesome consciousness.
Can you tell us which one?
They are greed-rooted 4, not accompanied with wrongdoing, and one from delusion-rooted. This is restless consciousness. So even non-returners have kind of restlessness. So even non-returners have kind of greed. Greed for what?
For non-return.
No. Jhana. They have greed towards jhanas, fine material jhanas and immaterial jhanas, not for anything else. Yes. Yes. Now, fruition consciousness. Each path consciousness issues automatically in its respective fruition in the same cognitive series in immediate succession of the path. Yes, now there are, we know, altogether 8 supramundane consciousness, 4 are wholesome, 4 are fruition. What are these 4? Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arhat. These fruitions also Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arhat. So these 4 fruition consciousness arise immediately after the path consciousness. In between these 2 consciousness, there is no any other consciousness. Immediately after path consciousness, fruition consciousness arise, respective fruition consciousness. Now, once you attain Sotapanna path, immediately after the path, you get Sotapanna fruition consciousness. This is the meaning of the second quality of Dhamma, Akaliko. We know Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditthiko Akaliko, third one. Akaliko means no time. Without time, you get the fruit if you reach to the path. This is the meaning of Akaliko. So, fruition consciousness. Each path consciousness is used automatically in its respective fruition in the same cognitive series in immediate succession of the path. Thereafter, the fruition chitta can arise many times when the noble disciple enters the meditative attainment of fruition. The fruition consciousness, as mentioned earlier, is classified by way of kind as a resultant, vipaka. It should be noted that there are no supramundane functional chittas. This is another thing. Now here we have functional consciousness. Even here we have functional consciousness. Sense sphere functional, and fine material functional, and immaterial functional. But under this supramundane consciousness, there is no anything called functional consciousness. Supramundane functional chittas. That is because when an arahant enters fusion attainment, the chittas that occur in that attainment belong to the class of resultants, being fruits of the supramundane path. Yes, now we have these four fusion consciousness, and they belong to, or yes, we can say that these four belongs to resultant. So no functional consciousness under the supramundane level. Yes. There's a subtitle, Comprehensive Summary of Consciousness. Thus, there are 12 unwholesome types of consciousness and 21 wholesome types. Resultants are 36 in number, and functional types of consciousness are 20. There are 54 sense sphere types of consciousness and 15 assigned to the fine material sphere. There are 12 types of consciousness in immaterial sphere and 8 that are supramundane. So this is the lengthy explanation about consciousness aggregate. Now you have good knowledge about consciousness aggregate, and you have eradicated that much ignorance. Okay, now let's see what are these. There are 12 unwholesome types of consciousness. It's clear, no? For everybody, 12 unwholesome consciousness you know already. 8-rooted greed, 2-rooted hatred, and 2-rooted to delusion. And 21 wholesome types. How to understand that? There are 21 wholesome consciousness. This is a place you have to think. What are 21 wholesome consciousness? How to collect? They are scattered everywhere. How to count 21 wholesome consciousness? Yes? This is the Abhidhamma actually. You have to learn to count.
8 in the...
Yes, 8 in the sense sphere. Now here, 8 in the sense sphere. And
5 in the fine material.
yes, here 5 from the fine material.
In material sphere 4.
In material sphere 4. And
Supramundane 4.
supramundane 4 paths.
4.
Altogether 8, 8, 16, 5, 21. These are the 21 wholesome consciousness out of 89 consciousness. Okay. And resultant are 36. Okay. Now this is again very important question. 36 are resultant. How to find the resultant 36?
8 beautiful.
Okay, 8 beautiful. Yes.
5 fine material. 4.
Yes, 5 resultant are fine material.
Then
4 are immaterial.
No, there is under rootless.
Yes, under rootless how many?
7 plus 8.
7 plus 8.
wholesome and
Yes,
8.
15. 7 plus 8. Some more. 8, 5, 13, 4, 17, 17, 15, 32. Another 4 we need.
Supramundane.
That's right. Supramundane fusion 4. Altogether 36 resultant. Yes. Okay. Now, and functional types of consciousness are 20. How to find this 20? Functional 20. 8 sense sphere. Under rootless 3, yes.
Fine material 15. No, yes. 5.
5. Fine material 5.
Immaterial 4.
Immaterial 4. Yes. They are the. Yes. They are the functional 20s. Good, no? You have learned really. Yes. Yes. There are 54 sense sphere types of consciousness. Okay, now another thing. 54 type of sense sphere consciousness. What is it? How to count 54 sense sphere consciousness? All the unwholesome. Yes, all the unwholesome available in. No, we put them into sense sphere. All the rootless, that's right. All the rootless sense sphere. All the beautiful 24 sense sphere. Even Arahant's consciousness are there, but they are all sense sphere. So 30, 20, 54. So these are the sense sphere consciousness. And 15 assigned to fine material. It's clear, no? 15. 5, 5, 5. 15 sense sphere. And 12 immaterial. 4, 4, 4. 4, 4. 12. And 8 are Supra. Clear. Okay. Let's see what more what there. In these verses, Acharya Anuruddha summarizes all the 89 states of consciousness that has so far expounded in this compendium of consciousness. In the first verse, he divides these according to their nature of kind, jati, into 4 classes. Unwholesome chittas, wholesome chittas, resultant chittas, and functional chittas. So we did that. We know now under 89 consciousness how many are unwholesome, how many are wholesome, how many consciousness are functional, how many consciousness are resultant. Yes. So who is this Acharya Anuruddha?
That's the question.
Yes. Acharya Anuruddha is the one who wrote this book originally, Abhidhammatta Sangha. This book wrote in 12th century. 11 or 12th century in Polonnaruwa period, in Sri Lanka Polonnaruwa period. So the Abhidhamma teachers used this book as a handbook. Using this book, teachers taught whole Abhidhamma Pitaka to monks. Yes. The last 2 classes are grouped together as karmically indeterminate, abhyakata. Yes, now this is another important thing you have to learn when you are learning Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma divide everything into 3. They are wholesome, unwholesome, and neither wholesome nor unwholesome. Whole universe, everything can be put into these 3 groups. So Buddha in Tavatinsa heaven, when he starts to preach Abhidhamma, his very first sentence is this: Kusala Dhamma, Akusala Dhamma, Abhyakata Dhamma. Wholesome phenomena, unwholesome phenomena, neither wholesome nor unwholesome phenomena. This is the very first line uttered by the Buddha. Now, wholesome phenomena means 21 consciousness we have already discussed, and they are mental concomitants. In wholesome consciousness, they have about 36 mental factors. So this is called wholesomeness in the world, in the universe. And unwholesome is 12 unwholesome consciousness, and there are about 37 mental factors. 27. 27 means how this 27 came? 7, 6, and 15. 20, yes. So this is the whole unwholesomeness in this universe, or the world, or in a mind. And then there is another concept, another something called neither wholesome nor unwholesome. Under this there are mainly 5 things. First one is neither wholesome nor unwholesome means resultants. Resultants are not wholesome nor unwholesome. Resultant consciousness are 36. And next one is functional. Functionals are 20. They are neither wholesome nor unwholesome. And third one is Nibbana. Nibbana is neither wholesome nor unwholesome. And next one is form. Form is not wholesome, not unwholesome. As example, earth element is not something wholesome, not something unwholesome. Like that, form is not wholesome or unwholesome. And their respective mental concomitants also should be discussed under these things. So these things are called neither wholesome nor unwholesome. In Pali we call abhyakata. Abhyakata dhamma. Dhamma means nature. So there are 3 natures according to Abhidhamma. First nature is wholesome nature. Second nature is unwholesome nature. Third nature is neither wholesome nor unwholesome nature. So if you understand these 3, there is no anything more you to understand, to learn. Yes. Yes. Since they are neither wholesome nor unwholesome. Yes. In the second verse, he divides the same 89 chittas by way of the plane of consciousness, bhumi, into another 4 classes. See it? Yes. Sense sphere chittas, fine material, immaterial. Thus, although chitta is one in its characteristic of cognizing an object, it becomes manifold when it is divided according to different criteria into various types. So, actually, chitta, the consciousness, has a common nature, that is cognizing. Cognizing the object is the consciousness. But that cognizing nature, we can classify it according to different ways, as wholesome, unwholesome, functional, etc. Or fine material, or how to say, sense sphere, fine material, immaterial, and supramundane. Like that, different ways we can classify that cognizing nature. And yes. And there is another little explanation relating to supramundane consciousness. Although we say supramundane consciousness are 8, they can be elaborate further. Now, as example, when one attaining sotapanna or stream entry, he can attain sotapanna path knowledge with first jhana. Okay, first jhana sotapanna path. And another one can become sotapanna as second jhana sotapanna path. And another one can attain using third jhana or fourth jhana or fifth jhana. So there are 5 sotapanna paths, 5 stream entry paths.
And it always has to be with the jhana?
With the jhana, yes, with the jhanas. That's again another important question. Always you have to at least have first jhana level concentration to attain sotapannahood. If you don't have such a concentration, you can't attain sotapanna.
But it can be just for a short moment? Or
Short moment. Now, in this supramundane path moment, your concentration should equal to at least first jhana. So, it can be first jhana level concentration or second jhana or third jhana or fourth jhana or fifth jhana level. This fifth jhana means even immaterial sphere consciousness can include into this fifth jhana level. Because now infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, and neither perception nor non-perception, all are very close to this fifth jhana. So once you are attaining sotapannahood, you have first jhana level concentration or second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, fifth jhana. And your fruition also same as your path. So you can have 5 sotapanna fruition consciousness. First jhana sotapanna fruition consciousness. Second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, fifth jhana sotapanna fruition consciousness. So then altogether how many? 5, 10. Okay, 10 sotapanna paths and fruitions are there. Same thing available to one's return, Sakadagami. You can become Sakadagami using first jhana or second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, fifth jhana. And your fruition consciousness also same as your path. So there are 10 once returner consciousness. And same way you can attain non-returner. So there are again 10. And Arahant 10. So altogether 40 supramundane consciousness. This is additional knowledge. 40 supramundane consciousness. Then our number of consciousness become 89 become 121. How it happens? Now 81 is mundane, and this 40 we have to add. So it becomes 121. So when we are learning Abhidhamma, you have to learn either this way or this way. 89 and 121. So this is the consciousness aggregate. Yes?
If you use the second style, do the mental factors change or not?
Mental factors changes. Now as example,
According to jhanas.
according to jhana. Now first jhana, you have vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. You know, applied thoughts, sustained thoughts, zest and happiness and one pointer. But in second jhana, you don't have applied thought. And third jhana, you don't have applied thought and sustained thought. And like that, one by one, one by one, mental factors reduce when you go to the fifth jhana. So, and there is another very subtle point. Now in this second jhana, you don't have second, third, fourth, fifth jhanas, you don't have sustained thought. Okay, sustained thought means right thought. So, eightfold path here has not 7 factors, not 8 factors. Yes, applied thought, not applied thought, sustained thought.
Vitaka is applied.
Vitaka is applied thought, yes. So applied thought not available. Yes, applied thought not available in paths which attain using second, third, fourth, fifth jhanas. That means that eightfold path doesn't have right thought. These are very subtle areas. Okay.
Maybe what is considered as Mahachattarisaka as the Ataka is because Mahachattarisaka Shikha calls the Supra mundane right thought, Takko, Vitako, Sankalpa,
Yes.
Apana, Vyapana, Chetasa, Vinopana.
Yes.
So maybe some other parts of them are actually considered as the right thought then.
No. That Mahachattarika Sutra explains Vitakka Vichara, that means this first jhana only, not others. The Mahachattarika Sutra explains right thought as applied thought. So that is according to Suttanta, and that explains the first jhanic level of path.
So they consider all these terms as like Vitaka and Vichara.
All these terms as Vitaka. Yes. So what more we have to talk about consciousness aggregate? Yes. Let's see this part. All meditators reach the supramundane paths and fruits through the development of wisdom, insight into the 3 characteristics of impermanence, suffering and non-self. However, they differ among themselves in the degree of their development of concentration. Those who develop insight without a basis of jhana are called practitioners of bare insight, Sukha Vipassaka. Yes. So, regarding the attainment of Nibbana, there are different practices. Some practice purely Vipassana. Some others practice jhana and then Vipassana. When they reach the path and fruit, their path and fruition chittas occur at a level corresponding to the first jhana. Yes, now even the dry Vipassana people, when they attain paths and fruitions, their concentration level is first jhana at least. Although they don't separately practice jhanas, their path moment is first jhanic level at least. Those who develop insight on the basis of jhana attain a path and fruit which corresponds to the level of jhana they had attained before reaching the path. Yes. So if you have attained fourth jhana previously, your attainment is same level as fourth jhana. The ancient teachers advanced different views on the question of what factor determines the jhana level of the path and fruit. One school of thought holds that it is the basic jhana, that is the jhana used as basis for concentrating the mind before developing the insight that culminates in attainment of the supramundane path. A second theory holds that the jhana level of the path is determined by the jhana used as an object for an investigation by insight, or the comprehended or investigated jhana, samma sati jhana. Yes. Still, a third school of thought holds that when a meditator has mastered a range of jhanas, he can control the jhana level of the path by his personal wish or inclination. Nevertheless, the gong rang? Okay. Sorry. This much is enough for the moment. And we will meet after another 2 weeks, okay?
2 weeks?
Yes.
Why you are not going to be here?
I am not available here.
Your favorite stanza.
Thank you.